Hi, this is Dan in Nature. I'm sitting outside under the redwoods. Directly under some of the redwoods on this land. And I hear some sounds now. I can hear a few birds. I can hear the sound of water rushing through a creek. I heard frogs. The frogs mostly come out at night. I hear chainsaw. I can see redwoods. I can see Douglas fir. I can see tan oak. I can see wild huckleberry. I can see a white sky covered in clouds. I can hear an airplane. What I imagine to be an airplane. I'm imagining right now what it must be like to fly above the clouds. I imagine that above a thick layer of white clouds is a sunny, beautiful day. I imagine flying up above the clouds, basking in the sun. I imagine flying an airplane. Where I can see a thick layer of white cloud below me. So many sounds. I'm trying to appreciate all of the sounds of nature, not just the beautiful bird sounds, but the automobile sounds of nature. The human sounds. The airplane sounds. I imagine that if I was flying an airplane, I would feel safer flying below the clouds where I could see the landmarks. But I would so much rather fly above the clouds in the sun. And I think if I was doing that, I would fly by compass and map. And there is a certain amount of anxiety that comes with not seeing landmarks, not knowing where I am. What I mean when I say sustainability. What I mean when I say I want to live a sustainable life. It's so much more than recycling, reusing, reducing. And there's another airplane. One that's decided to fly low underneath this blanket of clouds. I can hear them. With their propellers cutting through the wind. A small plane. If I was a small plane and I had to come back down through a big blanket of clouds, I might feel anxious, passing through a big blanket, not being able to see what's on the other side and what's inside. Could be birds, could be other airplanes, could be air and cloud and air. I'm hoping that by talking to myself here, I can understand what I mean when I say I want to live a sustainable life. I have 3 wonderful children of my very own. My nourishments have become them. Now I nourish them and they nourish me back. And they will grow and have lives of their own where they consume and produce like all the rest of us. They may even go on to have children of their own who will go on to have children of their own. How is that sustainable? I'm not saying it is or isn't sustainable. I'm asking, how is that sustainable? I am of the species Homo sapien. And for about 10,000 years, my ancestors, our ancestors, have reshaped this earth and populated this earth and created what we have here today, which for some of us is a great deal of freedom. Such a great deal of freedom. At the expense of when I think of what must have occurred in order for my freedom to exist, I'm deeply, deeply hurt. There were many people who fought for their lives. And there were many people who fought to drive people off this land. And not just people, bears, wolves, mountain lions. Scary animals roam these lands. And at one point in time, there were tribal people here. And at one point in time, there were no people here. At another point in time, this coast was covered in water. That was many, many eons ago. At one point in time, this was a big molten ball of magma, mostly iron. At one point in time, the solar system did not exist. Nothing but a collection of gas particles. How far back do we go? This land, after natives left here, this land was taken care of by the caretakers, the Parmeters. There still are many people in this community that go by the name Parmeter. When I was born into a world with an American government in a capitalist system. A world that had come out of fighting many wars. Come out of the Vietnam War, World War II, and was entering a Cold War. I was born into a world where people felt that they had to fight and kill to make the world a safe place for the ones that they loved. Do I think I could fight and kill for the ones I love? I think I would. And I'm glad I've never had to. Oh, I feel so lucky that I have not had to kill for the ones I've loved. I know that what I do and what I think and what I say changes who I am. And I know that fighting changes who I am. And I know that killing would change who I am. Am I willing to change? I hope that I have shown that already. I hope that I exemplify this idea that I am enough. And I can be better. And I will keep striving to be an example for myself. I wanted this episode to be centered around sustainability and what that means to me. If I consume, how do I say this? As a living, growing human being, being. I can cut out the word human even. As a living, growing being, I consume energy. And I produce heat. And waste. One person's waste is another person's treasure. And if we extend our understanding of what it means to be a person, then we can realize that waste can turn into fertile soil. In fact, on this land that gets a lot of rain, there's a lot of mushrooms that grow, many kinds of fungi. And fungus turn one kind of organic matter into another kind. They're part of a cycle that turn death back into life. That's a beautiful cycle, the life cycle. The life cycle in this beautiful ecosystem called the Earth allows an enormous variety of life to exist, to coexist. I will live some number of finite years, and then I will die. And when I die, my memories will vanish, but the memories of me will not. They will sustain. And my body will decay thanks to the help of fungus. There's another low-flying plane. And my body will turn into nutrients for a redwood tree one day. I hope. But before that day, I will continue to consume. There's so much that I consume, not just Netflix. And I produce. For certain, I will produce heat. The human body behaves like an engine, taking in. Oh wow, that plane is flying right above me now. I can't see it, but I can hear it. The human body consumes complex carbohydrates and proteins, carbon, oxygen, hydrogen, mostly, and converts those fats, proteins, and sugars into other sugars for our muscles to burn and convert into carbon dioxide, which we exhale. I listened to a really wonderful TED Talk about a year or two ago of a chemist who explains that our body doesn't sweat out our fat. It doesn't poop out our fat. The fat that we have in our system, the fat that I have, it's converted into sugars and then converted into carbon dioxide. We breathe in oxygen, 2 oxygen atoms, O2, makes 1 oxygen molecule, and we breathe in many of those with every breath. And when our body accepts that oxygen, It's brought up into our lungs to these little cells that absorb the oxygen into our red blood cells and our white blood cells. And when we exhale, that energy that had been brought into our red blood cells gets pumped through our heart and our muscles and burned, converted into carbon dioxide, which we exhale. And so the beauty of this chemist giving this TED Talk, the beauty of this TED Talk, is that it showed me breathing is how we lose weight. You eat a pound of steak, and you poop out, I don't know, like 3/4 of a pound of steak. Some of that energy gets stored, some of it gets burned immediately, and breathed out immediately. Later, that stored energy can get converted into breath. So I can keep breathing. And breathing is what sustains my life. Breathing is one of the things, one of the infinite things that sustain my life. As long as I can keep breathing, I can stay alive. But why? Why should I choose to stay alive? Well, I have some good reasons. Through my breath, what can I produce? Besides that heat and that carbon dioxide, what can I produce? I can produce thought. And if my hands or my feet work, I can produce motion. So for all of the oxygen in my life that I convert to carbon dioxide, do I have enough trees on this 4 acres to absorb that carbon dioxide and turn it back into oxygen? And of the food that I eat, is it born here on this land? Does it live off of the mushrooms that are on this land? Is this 4 acres really sustainable? Surely I couldn't survive just on these 4 acres alone. But if I brought in seeds and I cut down trees, I could let in light, enough sun to raise a farm like my ancestors have been doing for 10,000 years. I could farm the land and I could live off of the seeds. I could live off of the sunlight. That would be a beautiful thing. At the moment, I don't need to do that. At the moment, I share my ideas and I share what I have made in my life. And in return, I receive help from others, like my friend Ian. He has a greenhouse. He grows lots of produce. And now he has 20 baby chickens, and they're so cute. I'll let you listen to some of them sometime. I had them eating out of my hands the other day. He also has his own bins where he feeds worms his compost and turns the soil into fertile soil. And some of those worms I brought to the chickens. They're still babies, but they were so excited. They had never seen or eaten anything that was alive. They've only eaten grain, cereal. And then just a couple days ago, they got to taste their first taste of worms, of live food. Those poor worms, those happy chickens. Am I living sustainably on my 4 acres? I don't even know if 4 acres of these trees can produce enough oxygen to turn my carbon dioxide back. And I went to 2 grocery stores yesterday. 2. Thanks for letting me borrow your car, Ian. I really appreciate it. In the last 2 weeks, I only produced one grocery bag worth of trash. Part of that is living sustainably. But can I really live sustainably? I'm going to keep coming back to this question because I know the answer is no. I know that I need a Sangha. One of my favorite writers and poets, the dearly departed Thich Nhat Hanh. He's not the first to write of an idea that he calls the Sangha, but he writes about it so beautifully. This idea that I am a part of my community. The Sangha is a community, but not just a community. A community that helps me find enlightenment, some kind of enlightenment. My Sangha are made up of my family and my friends. And a Sangha is one of the things that we need, that I need, that I want in my life. And I want to be a part of a Sangha. I want to be a part of a community that helps others find some kind of enlightenment. Because this world is a very special place. And there is a space in this world for every one of us. It's going to be really hard to find those spaces. And I know we can do it. I don't know that the answer is sending the richest of us off to Mars. Though maybe we can find a very inexpensive way to transport billions of us to a already colonized Mars. Maybe. Maybe there's a simpler, less energetic solution. Maybe science can help us. It can help us find a place where we're all living a sustainable life in our ecosystem, preserving the nature that still exists today. I think that, for me, it starts with using less. That's hard. I'm pretty sure that was the sound of a bar meter on a little ATV. I believe there is a way that we can find together. We can all find our place. We can all use less. I think that is part of the way. It is so hard. Do I think that living in a tent under the redwoods is sustainable for, let's say, 40 years? Not for the next 40 years. But I do think I can find a life where I can use less. Less of everything. And save a little bit for those who have even less than I have. And there are so many on this planet that have so much less than what I have. I can save a little bit of what I have for them. If we all did that, oh man. If we all did that, oh, what a world this would be. So, I think that's where I'm going to wrap up this episode, is imagining this whole world as my Sangha. So, this is Dan in Nature. See you next time.